As it continues its rise up the sales charts, Hyundai is starting to look at the more sporty side of the driving equation. In fact, it's calling this, the new Elantra SR Turbo, the most dynamic car it's ever built. Of course, Hyundai has released sporty versions of some of its cars before this, including the Veloster Turbo and the i30 SR. It's not unfair to say, though, that these efforts really haven't set the world on fire. Hyundai didn't go anywhere near far enough for them to be regarded as genuine performance options. The Korean brand is set to change all that, though, when it launches its new high-performance N sub-brand in 2017. In fact, it's already previewed a version of its new i30 hatch that's set to tackle the likes of Volkswagen's Golf GTI head-on. So what's with the SR Turbo then? Why has Hyundai gone and tuned up a fairly basic small sedan if it has bigger plans in the wings? The party line is that SR range will continue to offer what Hyundai is calling a warmed-over experience. The cars will have slightly sharper handling and a bit more go than their basic counterparts, but won't be as full-on as the N cars are purported to be. The Elantra SR Turbo uses the same 1.6-litre turbocharged engine that's in the Veloster Turbo, with a few small modifications, like a larger turbocharger and a bigger intercooler. It still makes the same power and torque figures as the Veloster though. It's also the first of the current Elantras to use an independent rear suspension system, and will also see it on the i30N next year. It's one of the elements that sets the SR Turbo apart not only from its stablemates, but rivals like the Nissan Pulsar SSS that frankly has failed to make much of an impact in Australia. It's a setup that's usually only found underneath expensive sports cars, and it means that the rear wheels are able to follow the road more accurately and with better control. The only real downside is that the extra suspension bits under the boot floor means there's only enough room for a space-saver spare tyre, and not a full-size spare. The much bigger upside is that Hyundai's local suspension tuning team had a much easier job of giving the SR Turbo some real character. Look, you're never going to mistake the SR Turbo for an outright performance car. It's just not quite gutsy enough. But the suspension tune and the tyre balance and the chassis stiffness, it all combines to make quite an entertaining drive, especially at sort of 70 or 80%. And you'll pick up a few of those percentage points simply by replacing the standard tyres with something with a bit more grip. It's not that the stock Hankooks are a dud tyre, far from it, but the SR Turbo could absolutely handle a better set. As a package, the Elantra is a pleasant surprise. The pick of the two cars is definitely the dual clutch auto version. It gets a drive mode switch that the manual version doesn't get, and that adds a vital bit of sparkle that pushes the SR Turbo into being more than just lukewarm. What's really obvious is that Hyundai's local suspension tuning prowess is starting to pay real dividends. And while the Elantra SR Turbo is leaving room for the incoming N brand, it's a surprisingly rewarding and genuinely entertaining drive in its own right. You want to read the full review? Click right here. And don't forget to click subscribe if you want to stay on top of all of our latest videos.